What up? What's up? Good afternoon. Welcome to the All 49ers Show. That's Jose Sanchez. I'm Grant Cohn. This is powered by BetUS. Brandon Aiyuk is not happy, Jose. Brandon Aiyuk just unfollowed the 49ers on Instagram. I've never seen anything more shocking in my life. I don't see how the 49ers are going to come back from this one. And I think what's next? Is he going to block him too? What do you think of Brandon Aiyuk throwing a hissy fit on social media 2 weeks before the draft?
That it's a common trend now in the NFL for the last several years. It's like so predictable what all these players who are in these contract negotiations with their team always do. And it's always the wide receivers. Like just the way they just act out on social media. This is pretty much like the new generation of players, you know, where there's just, I'm waiting, it's not happening. Let me go ahead, just like unfollow, let me like some post off a tweet. You know, it's been happening for like a month now. When he first did that tweet with Mike Tomlin, like, yo, they're saying we look alike. On the same day it was rumored or reported or whatever that the Steelers have interest in a trade with him, which no duh, I'm sure every team has an interest in Brandon Aiyuk. And now he's gone on to the next step, unfollow. You know, I think we saw this before 2 years ago with Deebo Samuel closely. I mean, it's obviously happened with a bunch of other players, but, you know, considering we cover the 49ers, we know all this closely. I'm just wondering now what's the next step? When's the trade request coming in? Is it going to happen next week before the draft really comes? Or what's going to happen? Because I feel like now he's just really he's really fully bought in on selling this and getting traction and attention for this social media cryptic messages he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, do you think this was an impulse of his? Do you think it was something he planned on? Do you think it was something that he and his agent talked about?
Probably just himself. I don't know with him and his agent, but honestly, he was on a podcast with or YouTube channel, whatever it is, with Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, like some weeks ago, where he literally admitted, like, oh yeah, I'm having fun with it. Like he literally said, like, oh, I woke up and I seen people were talking about me in the trade, so I was like, screw it, let me go ahead and send this tweet, just have fun. So this is just pretty much what he's doing. He's bored, and he's kind of also, I think he also alluded to the fact where trying to garner attention a little bit, like trying to put the spotlight, like, hey, like trying to get almost. I don't know if he's trying to get, you know, like a case to be made, like getting the fans, the people, a general consensus of people like give him his money to try to get that charge so he can get that support. But it's definitely obviously he's trying to like stir the pot a little bit, have some fun. You know, I think at least on Brandon Aiyuk's point, because there's been other players who do it for dramatic attention, hella diva-ish. But him, I think he's just doing it more just because like it's funny to him. And it's just like, let's just watch everyone freak out. Because he knows people are stalking his page on Instagram like that.
I disagree.
Oh.
I think Aiyuk doesn't play like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I just don't think he plays like that. I think I don't know if he's pissed, but I think he's not messing around. I think there's a difference between his negotiation and the one with Deebo and Kittle. So let me try to provide the context I'm thinking of. With Deebo, like, he requested a trade. He did all of this, right? He seemed even more mad, but eventually he met the Niners halfway. Like what's the word? Compromised. He did not get everything he thought he was worth. Not even close. And he came back kind of with his tail between his legs, and he did it because, I don't know, he thought he was the number one receiver on the team, that the offense was catered to him, and that he was best friends with the head coach. Kittle also met the 49ers in the middle. He didn't get all the money he thought he was deserving of. But at the time, he was the go-to guy in the 49ers passing game. Offense was about him. Aiyuk isn't necessarily the focal point of the Niners offense. I mean, he doesn't think he is. And that's sort of, I think, an issue here. And where Deebo and Kittle sort of compromised and met halfway, I don't know that Aiyuk will. He's trying to say that he won't. And the Niners are kind of making noises like he's not budging. And if that's the case, man, he's asking for too much money.
Makes sense if he's asking for too much money. It's always early. Like he's trying to really gouge out the pockets. And I'm pretty sure if you like, the 49ers, he's like, whoa, calm down. You're not Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb money. Like, what was the thing about Debo? It was like, okay, at least you don't have other receivers, like at least like extremely elite receivers who you got to compete officers, right? He had DK Metcalf and AJ Brown as his comps. Aiyuk, it's like, man, he's got Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb. I think I'm forgetting another one that you have to have competing offers with. And it's like, if you don't get him done first, now it's like, okay, this guy's going to really try to like budge and push for a contract similar or close or even somehow exceeding theirs, which is no way in hell you can do that under no circumstance. I understand he's getting better and he's a very prominent player and underutilized, but the point of the fact of the matter remains is his role in this offense is probably not going to be number one worthy. I mean, his stats said it for himself. That's no indictment to him. It's just the style that Kyle Shanahan likes to operate under. But I think in this sense, I feel like it's still for me a little early to judge that he's getting a little ticked off. I feel like it would probably take more noise from his little social media thing. Cause I think these guys are just all caught up now in this little fun, this little charades. Like, he'd like to post, what does it mean? And that's just everything it is now.
I got another difference between him and Debo. Debo wanted to get traded, but what happened was the draft came by and it was pretty clear that teams weren't that interested in Debo. That the money he thought he was worth, there was no team that was going to give it to him. And there was no team that was going to give up high draft picks or multiple firsts, which is what the Niners wanted for him. Aiyuk might be in a different boat. Like, Aiyuk might feel that he really could get the money he's looking for elsewhere from multiple other teams. And if he just doesn't budge, doesn't capitulate, that he'll get it. So maybe and again, the Niners can play hardball here. They can force him to play out his 5th-year option. They can give him the franchise tag. They haven't really moved like that as an organization since John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have been here. They want to take care of guys, right? Like they talked about it with Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner. I'd be surprised if they did that with Brandon Aiyuk. It'd be a big middle finger to a really good player. And I think players around the league would notice it. So 2 weeks before the draft, Brandon Aiyuk unfollows the 49ers. I think if a team gives the Niners an offer they like, and there's a wide receiver on the board that they like, this could happen. And we're going to talk in a minute about wide receivers who could be on the board. It's a very good class of wide receivers. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, I think the only problem with the 49ers is the trade values you can get for these guys, like your compensation for him. Like, is that worth a 1-year rental of Brandon Aiyuk if you just kept him? Because all these all these trades that keep going on with these guys, like, it's like, damn, you got like that Stephon Diggs trade, like, damn, that's what you got for him? Like, I understand he's up there in age, like he kind of had a down year, especially towards the end, but he's still a very prominent wide receiver. It's just the double dual fact of not only got to give a fat compensation, but I got to pay this guy pretty lucrative. How do you stomach that, especially in a nice like draft? I looked back at the Deebo Samuel draft, 2 years ago when he was going to get traded, and it looked like a good move. I mean, for the Titans, look, you traded AJ Brown, you drafted Treylon Burks. Like, that was terrible. Other than like the top wide receiver was taken, like, it was foolish. It made no sense. Other than that, everyone else was pretty much fine. But I think in this case, like, I don't know how you're the 49ers, you could just like budge on them. You might just be okay with just finally stepping out of that comfort zone, moving away from your patterns of, quote unquote, taking care of them. And I really do think they're going to have him play on his final year of his deal. I think that's the route they're going to go. Not unless something last minute miraculous happens, because they've actually mentioned that, like, oh yeah, we can always play on his last year of his deal. Cause that's one thing I've never noticed that John Lynch is, he didn't say that about Bosa, right? He didn't say that about Kittle. He didn't say that about Fred Warner. And I mean, obviously, you couldn't say that about those guys, but Bosa, you didn't say it about them. And it's like, okay, well, with him, why are you saying that with him? So I think that's something that they're really seriously considering. You watch the way the Bengals move with T. Higgins. He's still like there. I mean, they got tagged. I think that's really going to be the route that they go with.
That's true. That's what they did with T. Higgins, right? They made him play out his 5th-year option.
He's not being traded either. So, I mean, what's going on with that? I think what everyone's telling you, like the NFL is telling you, like the trades for these
T.
guys.
Higgins was the same draft as Aiyuk.
Huh?
T. Higgins was the same draft as Aiyuk. So he's facing the same issue.
Yes.
Yes.
Or was he? No, he was the same draft. That's true. He was the same draft. 2020, right?
He was.
Yeah.
He was.
Because he was taking like 10 spots, 12 spots later.
After?
Something like that. Second round, early second round, no?
Yes. Right.
I think it's the way the NFL is moving, the way they're telling you like how these trades are going on. Like, nah, where it's good. Like the Texans, it makes sense. Like, okay, we got cap space. We really want to move in. We want to benefit our guy. Versus it's like, what's up with these guys who are owed this second contract that these teams aren't really like budging on? Well, I'm sure obviously something's getting feelers across the scene. I think the temperature might get really turned up on draft day. And like you said, I think with Brandon Aiyuk, his unfollowing on Instagram, that's kind of maybe his way of like trolling and also trying to turn up the heat. Like, hey, time's a ticking. There might be other teams. Because at the end of the day, I don't think Brandon Aiyuk cares who's paying him. He just wants to get paid. You know, all this thing about loyalty. Like, he just wants to get paid somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think I think he feels he could get paid more elsewhere. I think he feels he could get more targets elsewhere. And I think he's, of all the offensive players who have been up for extensions with the 49ers, I think he's the least inclined to resign, to make a deal. Maybe I'm wrong, but him doing this today kind of seems like he's sending a message like, hey guys, trade me. Draft's coming up. Don't miss this opportunity. There's going to be teams interested who would pay me what I want, and I'd rather go there. I'm making it clear right now. I don't want to be on your team. I'm not going to officially request trade, but I'm not following you on social media anymore. I don't want to be here. I don't like your offer. I don't want to mess around with this anymore. I don't like Parag Marate. I don't want to play these games, man. Get me the hell out of here. I don't know. If I were another team, I'd be calling the Niners right now. A team that had a quarterback who was either a rookie or was about to get drafted. Any team that's about to draft a quarterback, you know who they could use? A great wide receiver. They could really use that guy. It would really help his development. So, New England, Washington, Minnesota, they have Jefferson, but
I just can't fall for these social media traps like this, because this is all these
hijinks.
Everyone does, and it never works. It never has zero impact on contract negotiations. I'm just thinking of it because, like I said, how he said, and I can respect the trolliness, how he's doing it, and I don't ever got the sense that that Brandon is that dramatic. Whereas Debo, I kind of felt like he was serious. Like he literally told the reporter, or it was sourced, like, yeah, I want to get traded. Like he was extremely impatient. At least Brandon is more or less just like, let's just see what we can mess with today. I feel like things won't start to get turned up until it's like, he skipped OTAs. It's gonna be typical. He's not gonna go to OTAs. He's not gonna be seen.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I do want to say one thing though. Like if the Niners make him play out his 5th-year option, maybe that'd be a good thing, because the last few times I've given guys extensions, they haven't really played well right after the extension.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean?
You know what? That might be the 49ers' fault why they always wait so long, though, for at least a couple of them, right? Debo Samuel. So that's kind of their own doing. And I still cannot fathom, like, what's the benefit they get from waiting that long? I'm not saying, like, you got to extend your guys March or even April, right? Like, no duh, there's free agency, there's draft, but, like, how do you not have a track record of getting people done in May or June? Like, how do you not get that done? I don't understand the benefit of waiting too long. It hurts you. It's proven that it's hurting you. Debo Samuel, late to training camp. He was fat.
Yeah.
Couldn't do anything. Nick Bosa didn't start turning up until like week 7 and 8, 9, 10. What's going to happen with Aiyuk?
Final question. And then we're going to talk about other wide receivers in the draft. Do you think Aiyuk will formally request a trade before the draft?
I still formally no. Informally, I think it's possible, because I see him doing more of the AJ Brown route, where if he really wants to seriously get paid, and that's the way it works, to do it that way. And AJ Brown was the one who actually got traded. Metcalf was like quiet, he didn't care, just pay me. Debo Samuel, like, I'm unhappy, I don't want to be used as a running back no more. Yeah. Trade me. AJ Brown just like, I want to be here, and stayed quiet. I think Aiyuk's going to be more of that, I'm going to stay quiet route. I'm not going to like put this out there. More like, I think he's having these talks like, yo, so what's up? Like, you guys are going to trade me? Now's the best time. Because Aiyuk knows is the best time to get traded right now until the end of the draft. I feel like there's going to be like some noise where you're going to hear a report like, oh yeah, Niners hearing some things. Like it's going to be like a mid-draft thing versus like something of a lead up. I don't know. I just got like this weird feeling that that's something that's going to pop up. I feel like that's the way he operates with how Aiyuk is, like, in this little low-key sense, even though he's kind of making it a little weird with his unfollowing the 49ers.
Yeah. Gerardo says, official band of music 88 says we were so close to the Mond to Brandon Aiyuk connection. Now both guys could be gone. I like that the Saints got Mond. I thought that was A good move. Gerardo Rangel says, I don't know if it matters. I know we're thinking about Bowers, but I can confirm that he isn't interested in playing on the West Coast. He wants the bag, source him. Oh, well, thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, sticking with this topic, let's talk about some wide receivers the 49ers could potentially get to trade if they trade Brandon Aiyuk, because it's a business, and trading Aiyuk to me is the right move if they can get a good wide receiver in the draft to replace him, because I don't like the idea of paying him $27 million on this team in this offense for a lot of reasons. But fortunately for the 49ers, it's a really good class for wide receivers. I'm looking right now, and it doesn't seem like they could get Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., or Rome Odunze. Those guys are going pretty high. But Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey, Malachi Corley, Adonai Mitchell. I mean, there's a ton of guys the Niners could get who are graded similarly to where Aiyuk was graded coming out of college in 2020. Do you have any favorites of the wide receivers who are coming out?
I like Mitchell out of Texas just because he's kind of similar in style and Aiyuk. And I think the 49ers were to pull a trigger on a Brandon Aiyuk trade and go with that, that send and replace, send him off and replace him with the rookie. They've kind of shown where they try to immediately replace that position and try to find some type of similar caliber player at that position specifically. And with him, I just like I think I like his little shiftiness in terms of how he can run routes, and I think he will work well in that sense with the 49ers and kind of replace what Aiyuk did. Not immediately replace what Aiyuk did. You're not going to expect any rookie to be like, all right, have fun replacing an all-pro. That's not going to happen. But I think with him, you can have some of those similarities where, okay, it's not too significant of a drop off. We can still have this, but we just have a cheaper version. And that's pretty much what you always weigh when you're trying to consider trading these guys. Is do we have a needs elsewhere where instead of paying this guy, let's turn him into some picks where we can plug and place elsewhere. Because look, there's some positions where you need where you can do that, pull the trigger at 31 on a receiver and bolster up your defensive line, bolster up your offensive line, do something like that. Turning Aiyuk into somewhere where you can not have a fat drop off in production or efficiency or an impact, and then still have other players everywhere. But I really like Adonai Mitchell out of Texas because I think he does have a little bit of similarity to Aiyuk style.
All right, let's look at it this way. The NFL.com grades these players. The NFL Network, and this is an organ of the league, and their scouts are respected. And when Brandon Aiyuk came out in 2020, they gave him a 6.38 grade. 6.38 will eventually be a plus starter. They got it right. Really good player. This year in the draft on NFL.com, they have the following players are graded above 6.38: Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey. Those five. Ladd McConkey's is 6'4". Brian Thomas Jr. is 6'4'7". They both ran in the 4.3s. I mean, they're both really good athletes. And then you have all these guys at 6'3", which is right where Aiyuk was. Malachi Corley, Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell, Roman Wilson. So that's four more. And it seems like that's what, 9 wide receivers who have similar talent to what Brandon Aiyuk had coming out. Take your pick. There's got to be one guy in there who fits the system that Kyle likes. I'm all for this Brandon Aiyuk trade. I feel like this is a good year to do it. You're never going to get more for Brandon Aiyuk than you're going to get right now, and it's a great draft to draft a wide receiver.
That's the exact same reason why a team wouldn't want to trade for him too. That's what sucks. It's like how do you find that team that's desperate? You have to find a team that's really look, we don't want to wait for one of these guys to develop instantly. Like he'll be good, but it's where you could just part ways with a good draft capital and be willing to take on that cap space. Because really, number one, it starts with who actually has a salary cap space to take on this guy. Number two, who's actually even a decent position. And then your 49ers, what do you do? A pick swap? I feel like that's something a team I'm just going to use the Jaguars as an example because they were the first ones, right? Jaguars, you think they're going to give up just their what are they, 18th or 20th, whatever? Just give that up.
Why wouldn't they just take a wide receiver? Okay, that's a good point. Let me give you a scenario. How about a team like New England? Okay, they're going to draft a quarterback in round 1. They have the 3rd pick. Then they have a high second, and a high third. They could trade both of those together. That's like the equivalent of a mid first or like a 21st pick. And then they could say, whatever wide receiver we're going to get at the top of round 2 isn't as good as Brandon Aiyuk. So we'll trade these picks, get Brandon Aiyuk, and then he can pair him with this guy for his entire rookie contract. The Niners can take those picks and then trade up. See how far they can get because we'll have 31, 34, whatever. Take 31 and 34, put them together, see how far they can go. I mean, they could do something like that. That's how it could work.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, I like that idea. It's actually perfect.
We'll see if anyone's into it.
I think that's kind of like what the mindset it's having. It's like, okay, if you're the 49ers, what would you do with them? Would you stay with those picks, that second and third, or would you, like you said, package it and try to see if you can find someone who's like, we'll trade down 10 spots or something like that? There's always the Raiders out there who might want to trade down because they keep getting linked to Michael Penix. They have a quarterback need or something like that.
Good point.
Who's obviously you're not going to take him top 15. But yeah, I think at that point, if you're the 49ers, then you'd have to like start weighing like who's there you can get an offensive line, defensive line.
Good point.
That's a hell of a scenario. I like that one.
Yeah, New England
are a team where it's like, why would you not bring like someone who's just coming off an all-pro year? Yeah, we got to pay him. Yeah, it's like some nice capital you're giving up. But like, hey, right now, immediately, this is going to expedite our quarterback's development. So rather than just we're having on rookie, it's like, okay, vet on kind of a little bit what the Bills did with Josh Allen. I know Josh Allen was obviously further along, but he was still kind of like rookie-ish a little bit. Like this guy was raw, and you bring in these guys, professionals, to really set you ahead.
Yep. What the Niners also could do, let's say they get 34. Let's say they get the Patriots' second and third round pick for Aiyuk. They could take pick 31 and the third round pick. So a first and a third, trade it to the Raiders or something. Move up because that 31 pick would be a good spot to take a quarterback. And then they could take an offensive lineman there, and they could take a wide receiver with pick 34 that they get from the Patriots and say, he may not be as good as Brandon Aiyuk, but he'll be close, and he'll be a lot cheaper. Could be one of the guys from Texas. Do that too. It seems like you could find a way. Like Brandon Aiyuk could be the key to the 49ers getting the heir apparent to Trent Williams, and they could still have draft capital left over to replace him.
Yeah. I totally would be.
I'm getting excited about this.
I totally be on board if they were to send Aiyuk and the capital they got in any way, just find a replacement on somewhere on the right side. Like, again, like I'll forever say this, like the one thing the Super Bowl taught me is like, God, the 49ers would totally benefit from a stronger offensive line than a strong, if they were to have the reverse, a strong skill position player, an array of skill position players with a strong offensive line, they would rather have the strong offensive line is way more effective for them. And then just go for like a third or fourth round receiver. You're Kyle Shanahan, go be smart, scheme this guy open. You have a good quarterback, figure it out. Like no one's going to cover this guy. He's going to be still your fourth option.
Right.
I feel like it makes so much more sense to do it that way.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like, okay, so he's not as good as Brandon Aiyuk, but he'll still be your fourth option. He'll be on a rookie deal. And some of these guys run 4.3s. Like, okay, you're not Brandon Aiyuk, but they're really, really talented. So, and you have Brock Purdy throwing you the ball. Like, who doesn't succeed with Brock Purdy throwing the ball? A lot of reasons. I mean, Brandon Aiyuk wasn't doing that great until Brock Purdy became the quarterback. Like, how was his career going with Jimmy? He went from catching like 60% of his targets to like 72. Like, yeah, that's the Brock Purdy effect.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. So, anyway, they're going to trade Brandon Aiyuk. I'm excited about it. Dave Barclay, I just came on. How much did I miss? All the show. Love you, G. Thank you for keep streaming during the off season. You guys both give us a lot of hours of research that I appreciate. Well, thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate you. Let's take a little break to shout out our sponsor, BetUS, which has the lines for all of UFC. Let's go through it.
UFC 300 for all my people. I'm a big fan. That's my second favorite sport, if not tied in football.
Nope, that ain't it. There it is. Okay. So what's the title fight? What's the main fight? Pereira versus Hill?
Yeah. Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. But they're all phenomenal fights. It's kind of hard. Like, you could take your pick of any of them.
All right. So why don't you flex your UFC knowledge for the people for the next few minutes? Tell us about Hill versus Pereira. Who do you like and why?
I love Pereira because Jamal Hill's coming off a torn Achilles that he is fresh off of July, which is kind of nuts that he's going to be fighting 9 months later against a guy who's a mammoth of a man who is just, this guy's been, he's tearing it up. You watch this fight. Pereira's the guy who knocked out Israel Adesanya, my guy. Remember that fight?
I did watch that. I did watch that. I was at your house.
So he's fighting Jamal Hill.
Okay.
Hill. I mean, excuse me, Pereira all the way. All 1,000%.
I'm putting $100 on that one.
Oh, God.
What about this one?
Okay, Weili Zhang, dude, is probably number 2, number 3. She's gonna end up being the top 3 best women's fighter of all time after Nunez.
Oh wow.
Or Rousey or Shevchenko, however you have it. She's a fighter out of China. She's amazing. She's a beast. She's fighting another good Chinese fighter, Yan Shannan, which is the first time 2 women, especially Chinese-born fighters, ever in a fight. This is gonna be good, but Weili all the way, dude. She's just amazing. She's so silky.
She's so silky. That's good analysis right there. Hold on.
I love her. She's fun. She's so funny at the press conferences. I love her. She's good energy.
$100. Max Holloway or
Justin. Oh my God. This is the banger of the fight. This is the BMF title, the baddest mother effer on the fight.
Okay.
Oh, Max Holloway. Max Bless Holloway. I'm going with Max Bless Holloway. Reluctantly, because Gaethje is only because I like the Holloway is an underdog, and I'm like, screw it, I'll take him. Now he usually fights at featherweight. He's going up in weight, but he's been in lightweight before. This is gonna be crazy. This is gonna be a slobber knocker. Both these guys are gonna let them haymakers fly.
Cool. I like that. Let's keep going.
I'm ready for that one.
How about this one?
Charles Dubrox Oliveira against Arman Sarukian. This is gonna be my second favorite fight on the card, and I have to go with Oliveira because there's no way in hell at plus 200, or he's almost plus 200, that I'm going to pass that up. He was plus 200 against Beneil Dariush in summer. He's going against a better fighter. Sarukian's a baller too, but no, that's too good. That's too juicy to pass off on Oliveira, former champion.
Why is this fight so lopsided?
It's lopsided because Cody Brandon is essentially I'm disrespecting him as a nobody, and Bo Nickel is supposed to be one of the hottest prodigies coming out. Which is funny because he's been getting booed at press conferences because he's opening the main card, and that's going to be the stinker fight. Bo Nickel, obviously, all the way. If anything, I would bet the under. The under is going to hit like half
the
a round.
Under.
I would like the under in that
one. All right. Let me just take all of your advice right now. Hold on. Under. About 50.
This freaking guy.
Okay. Actually, let's do 100.
This guy.
Yeah.
Balla.
How about this one?
Ooh, I like Yuri. Alexander Rakic. I think he's coming off 2 years off. I know he's coming off. No, he might be coming off almost 2 years. No, Yuri all the way. Yuri's healthier now. That guy's the Czech Republican samurai. He's a beast. Yeah.
See, now I'm actually looking forward to watching this because I got action on it. Calvin Kattar or
Calvin Kattar against Aljamain Sterling. Another guy. Sterling's making his debut at featherweight. After coming from bantamweight or featherweight? Yeah, featherweight. Cater's coming off a torn ACL. Shout out to torn ACL people. I like Sterling, former champion. I think he's going to get the wrestling. That's going to be a hard one, but I like Sterling a little bit.
All right, I think that's enough. I'm going to place the bets.
Place them.
What? For 0? What do I got for 0? Oh, yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
Damn, you can't win. Place 0, give me money.
Nothing. Confirm. I just put down $700 to win 573. See if I do it. I'll see if I win. Boom. That was fun. And let's just shout out BetUS real quick, the #1 online sports book, which is currently offering 125% deposit match up to $2,500 on your first 3 deposits. Also giving away $125 in free play. And I did this earlier today. The first 5 people who DM me their account on Twitter to show me their account number on BetUS will receive $25 in free play. BetUS also has 24/7 customer service and 24-hour payouts. I bet you didn't know that.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
Ooh,
okay, so we talked about like what the Niners could do with Brandon Aiyuk, all the wide receivers that they could take to replace him. How confident are you in the 49ers to get it right in round 1 this year?
Oh God, as confident as if you were to draft it. Like honestly, if like you were picking the pick, I might actually have more confidence in you picking in round 1, dude. Like what's their track record is bad. And shout out to our boy Sunel, but like he tweeted recently, like the 49ers have to be better in the first round. And and people kept going to like, oh, the league average, they're right around league average. And he's like, yeah, they're the ones bringing down that league average though. So, and I'm like, wow, that's a hell of a point. That's incredible. Because even without me knowing anything that, what does it matter? Like in a vacuum, them alone isolating it, they have to be better in the first round. I just listened to your boy Middle Cost podcast the other week. He had Mike Mayock on, and Mayock himself said, as GM of the Raiders, like first round, that was unacceptable. He didn't talk about league average, he didn't flex about his day 2, day 3 hits. He literally said round 1, we should have been better. That I hope the 49ers feel that way. Because literally, honestly, I get you hit Nick Bosa. I don't count that. My mother could have picked Nick Bosa, and she doesn't even follow football like that. You don't get credit for that. Your biggest credit, Brandon Aiyuk. Well done. Mike McGlinchey, but he left after 5 years. When you're drafting top 10, you want them to stay long term, especially when these offensive tackles.
They don't get credit for Mike McGlinchey. Absolutely not.
No, you don't get credit. It's a whiff. He's not a bust, but he's a whiff. I'll forever say he's a whiff because
he was a whiff. They thought he'd be a left tackle. He's not.
Yeah, and he needs to be long term. So no. So other than Brandon Aiyuk and then Trey Lance, oh God, that was like I don't care if we never knew what he was. Like you spent 3 first round picks on him. That was terrible
for nothing.
Like, and then God, we're not even going to talk about 2017. We already know how horrendous that was. So your round 1 is pitiful. It is putrid. It is ugly. This is why I do not care what position you guys take. Just get it right. I don't care if you trade up. If in hindsight we're like, oh wow, it kind of feels like they did it right, and it's going to be hard for us to really tell after a year or 2, right? But I feel like when they made these picks live, I think we all got a good sense of what it was. Like McGlinchey kind of felt like a hit at first, but I kind of felt like everyone thought it was good because like, oh, they didn't take Colton Miller, which Colton Miller turns out to be the better guy now. But now it's like, it's the confidence. If we're looking at, you told me 2-3 years from now, like, do you think they get it right? I'd probably say no. No, just the track record. I don't feel it. And I don't think they're a side that really learns because who's making the picks in round 1? It's Kyle Shanahan. And that's why I think they really get their picks right in day 3 is because he's not really being so hands-on. And Kyle's really admitted he hates draft call. Didn't he say something when you were at the owners meeting the other week too? Something about like how he's excited. He's kind of happy. Or no, he's happy he has round 1 picks because he hates doing like the later round stuff. Yeah. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Either way, he hates it. And he's the one making the picks in the first round, at least.
Well, look, reason for confidence is that the one that they did their best pick in round 1, as you pointed out, was Brandon Aiyuk. And after whiffing on Dante Pettis, which was like a mid-round 2 pick, the Niners have done pretty good at wide receiver. I mean, they did draft Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel. So if they do trade Brandon Aiyuk and they target someone in round 1, they trade up for him, they take him early in round 2, I would feel pretty confident in the Niners getting that right because I feel like Kyle Shanahan has gotten a pretty good sense of what he's looking for in a starting wide receiver on this team in this offense. And I don't even like Kyle Shanahan that much. Like I got to give him that. I think he could do that. I feel confident in him to do that.
And defensive line.
Yeah. Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas. I couldn't give him that. He didn't draft Eric Armstead or DeForest Buckner.
It's just, look, here. It's the thing. It's not even about who they take. It's like,
okay,
what if you trade out of round 1, you get a pick? So if they did that, I'd be like, oh, well done. And then it kind of depends what you do also with those picks after. But to say like, oh, they traded down 10 spots. They got 2 top picks in the round 2, and they can take like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like any move, just do something that feels remotely positive. And it's still gonna be hard to judge, but it's like it's again 2-3 years down the line, you're telling me, hey, this player is good. Like they found it. Like I'm gonna say, like, wow, I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked.
You know why they miss so much in round 1? Because they reach for need.
Yes, they do.
All the time. Like McGlinchey, Kinlaw, Trey Lance reaches for need. I mean, even people who like Trey Lance the most, like that was a clear reach. A guy who played barely at all at a small school, 3rd pick, and you traded up for him. So if you're going to stick in round 1, someone who's like close to being the best player available would be good. And it's if
Always
it's a
gotta
position that you don't need, then trade down, trade out.
Always
Yeah.
got to go like best player / immediate impact, especially when you're in top 10 or top 15. It's like, no, you have to get someone that's going to start day one. No questions asked. He's good and can get better. A little difficult when you're picking 31st, right? But hell, even the Chiefs were somehow able to get like players like I know he's not relevant now, but Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's first year or two was like, wow, it's like people kept claiming like, how the hell did the people let the Chiefs get away with this again? You know, he was an excellent running back for that first year or two. So maybe you can find someone who's that for you. Again, the threshold, you get a little more leeway when you're picking that late, but it's just because even if you do consider that pick as a second round, right? 31st pick is pretty much like you're pretty much looking at a second round pick. It's not like the 49ers have been amazing in the second round either, you know? So either way you're looking at it, it's like these guys, and it's because it's like you said, they go for need. And that's the problem when you have head coaches like Kyle Shanahan getting involved. Like you see that short-sightedness. You only see this season. And you don't really see big picture. And this guy just has like the blinders on, the telescope, whatever you want to call it, the microscope on, where he's just looking at one way, like such short-sightedness, and it shows it. You don't really get that sense in the later rounds, but then again, no one really cares about the later rounds. If you find anyone that's remotely good, hell, you get touted. So thank God for that, which is like, you know, that's what you have the guys on your staff to do. That's your staff getting it done, not you, Kyle.
Well, they're in an interesting spot in the sense that at 31, that's where teams sort of like to pick quarterbacks if they're fringe first-round prospects, because you get that fifth-year option, keep them a little bit longer if they're your starter. So if the Niners are at 31 and there isn't one player that they like more than anyone, or if there's someone they want that they're thinking about reaching for, like Roger Rosengarten or whoever Mel Kiper thinks they're going to take, that would be a reach. Instead of doing that, if Bo Nix is on the board, if Michael Penix is on the board, trade down, trade out, and get whatever offensive tackle or wide receiver you want to get 10 spots later. Probably going to be on the board anyway.
Because like I said earlier, I see the Raiders definitely doing that. It's all those teams who are like floating around that top 10 that aren't like, you know, top 5 that like are quarterback needy, where it's like, okay, we can go down, probably get like a nice. If you're the 49ers, like that's. Because I fully expect those guys to go down. I don't believe in like, oh, these guys are round 1 players. Like, no. I think they're going to be end of the round 1, early round 2 players or mid round 2 players. So you're 49ers, you have to take advantage of that. You know, I understand it takes 2 to tango. That's a little hard part, trying to get people to really, you know, pick up the phone and even entertain that, and like what kind of hauls you can get. But I think in this case, like you said, the quarterback allure, the fact there's like a solid tier 2 of quarterbacks there. And like you said, that 5th-year option, like, hey, we just want to have this amount of years to keep them, versus like we'll sacrifice, like we don't get that guaranteed of a 5th year if we wait just 2 more spots. That might be worth it just to jump up. So I think you're the 49ers, you have that little fish bait. You just throw the fish around out there. Look, there's quarterbacks here. So you're 49ers, fingers crossed, like these quarterbacks drop, or even sometimes some of these other prominent wide receivers, because even though you could wait, the wide receivers have been going heavy in the first round, like really heavy. Like that's the last 3 years. So there's a lot of flexibility, versatility you can get if you want to trade down and get that guy for the future at offensive line, or, you know, I think I'm officially like joining your boat. I officially see they're going to get a defensive line. I think they're going to get an edge rusher. I totally see
question
that.
about it, right? That's what they do. All right. Shout out to Dave Barclay. #fire Kyle. #fire Kyle. Love you, Dave. Okay. What do you think the plan is at outside corner? Is Rock Yassin the answer? I mean, he used to be pretty good. He was never that good.
He was never that good.
He was a second round pick. He was drafted 2 spots ahead of Debo. And then the Colts traded him for Yannick Ngakoue. He got hurt with the Raiders. He got hurt with the Ravens. His knee's been hurt. I don't know.
Yeah, I really liked him early on. Like, I really liked him. You know, I remember when the Raiders did that pick, I was like, that's sweet. Yeah, you get these guys, you get a nice starting corner. Man-to-man is his trait, but yeah, like injuries, like he hasn't really like lived up to that early showing promise that he had like the first 2 years of his career. So no, I don't think any of these free agency guys that the 49ers are bringing in are necessarily like the future. But you think about it, outside corner, probably even corner in general, like there's no long-term like stability there. I didn't realize until like I saw a tweet the other day, maybe Newman did it, but Diamondor, Lenore, and Charvarius Ward on the last year of their deals. Like that's kind of that's very alarming. That's very alarming. Like, wait, you guys could potentially have a new face, a new haul. You talk about the defensive line overhaul this year. Like, they might have a cornerback defensive overhaul next year. And given the way they handle defensive line, I think they're perfectly fine with that happening. We could definitely see a new set of these guys. And to me, it's like, no, you can't let Charvarius. Well, maybe they might actually let Charvarius go because he might be getting up there a little bit. But Diamador is one player you 1,000% cannot let go because he can give you that outside, inside flexibility. And that alone is such a oh my God, such a luxury, such a great hit to have. And now it's like, what are you going to do there? It's these players you don't have. They obviously don't like Ambry Thomas. you have Isaac Yadam, however you pronounce his name, that you kind of maybe have potential there. Rakison give you a little seasonedness. Maybe he's there. But now it's like, where are you going to go? You're going to draft again? You guys kind of suck at drafting corners. They're really bad at drafting corners. The fact that they had Diamandola nor hit is incredible. Tariq Castro-Field, Samuel Womack, Darrell Lute. What are these guys doing at corner? They have no idea what they're doing there.
To me, it seems like they keep adding corners who are going to be gone next year. They have a bunch of corners who are not under contract for next year. So they're going to draft a corner. It's just might not be a guy who can contribute right away. Like, they don't really like drafting cornerbacks before round 5. They've taken Ambry Thomas and Akello Witherspoon in round 3, and neither one worked out for them. Akello's actually pretty decent right now for the Rams, but that took a while, and he is actually pretty decent. He was last year, but the Niners have had no success drafting corners before round 5, at least since John Lynch has been here. So I don't see why they'll change that. Although they haven't had that much. They drafted Sam Womack and Darrell Luter Jr. Those guys haven't done anything.
I feel like it's more Kyle Shanahan's fault for why these guys can't ever, get their feet wet or like get a foothold. Is because he pulls the plug so fast, especially on it's always been known like he's very rough on the rookies and young players overall. Yeah. But I feel like with cornerbacks, this guy is like extremely harsh. Like Kyle Shanahan, I feel like approaches cornerbacks like a fan does. Like they make one bad play, get him out of here, cut him, send him to the streets. And it's like, relax. You don't even know what he did the other play where the camera wasn't on them. He probably was covering his guy. Getting beat's going to happen. Like, I don't understand how they went with Logan Ryan in the slot, who essentially was the one who gave up that touchdown play, right? Because he was so slow and I think kind of got picked or wasn't paying attention, whatever. You didn't go with him, but you went with him instead of Ambry Thomas. Again, an older Logan Ryan who doesn't have slot experience. Like that was an indictment in itself. That was like, okay, Ambry's never gonna see the field with this team again unless he somehow balls up or someone gets hurt. But it's just these guys, just the way they don't have the patience Kyle Shanahan does. That's why you look at years past, like Richard Sherman. Oh, proven guy. I know he's hurt, but we'll take a flyer. Hopefully he can bank on it. It worked. Jason Verrett, oh, he's hurt. Take a flyer. Let's see what happens because we're not going to wait. It's pretty much just a question of injuries. And then they got sick of that. Like, let's just go cash out on Charvarius Ward. And that worked out. Their free agency hits have worked more at corner than it has ever with free agency. K'Waun Williams was a free agency hit. Emmanuel Mosley, I know, undrafted. Akilo they have the nice little couple year stints. But corner, I feel like, is probably like, doesn't get talked enough of how much they really don't know what they're doing there. And I think it's more so because of their patience. Maybe Luter and Womack aren't it. Maybe that's true. But it feels like the sample size isn't there. Like Samuel Womack, what he got his first start against the Bears? It felt like he got pulled instantly, like off of one thing. And I think he even had a pass breakup early in that game. I just don't feel like their patience with these guys is good, and it doesn't allow them to really come into their own.
I agree. I want to talk about Dante Whitner now, because I can't get over what he said to Kay Adams. They were just talking, and all of a sudden he went way off the rails and said that he's like, by the way, the Niners weren't just playing the Chiefs. They were playing the refs and Taylor Swift. And I'm having a hard time understanding what exactly he meant. Where did this come from, and what was he trying to say?
He did mention, like, when the players are getting he just mentioned defensive ends getting bear hugged. Right.
And that's Taylor Swift's fault?
I think, well, first of all, I think there's a lot of bear hugs in general, like an issue that the refs don't call. A lot of offensive line do that a lot, which, you're not going to do that all the time. But it feels like Whitner had his Super Bowls mixed up. It's like, wait, you mean from 4 years ago? That one, sure, I get it. This one didn't really feel like it was a dramatic impact. Like, sure, they were there. Like, it was prevalent, but it wasn't Look, the defense wasn't a problem until the final 2 drives of the game. So what are you talking about? It wasn't the defense that fault. I don't want to hear nothing about the defense. It was the offense that couldn't do nothing. What are you talking about, Dante? You can definitely tell. You definitely sounded like a dude who was part of that Super Bowl. And the fact that the Niners didn't win, like he can't say that he was part of that Super Bowl. Like it kind of felt like he wanted to be there. He had the likes of washed up guy, like, yeah, this is our guy, this is our team. It's like, Dante, you're just an analyst now. Like, what are you talking about? Like, relax. It's okay. Like, it's okay if you have fandom in there. Like, just start making up things. Because last thing if there's anything I took away from that Super Bowl, was not the refs under any circumstance. I don't get that. That one was hilarious to me.
You know, it was funny too. Like, there was one holding call on an offensive lineman in that game. One.
Trent Williams.
Yeah.
That second drive was so bad. First drive, you had McCaffrey literally choke the game away. Not choke the game up, but like literally not show up. And then you have Trent Williams second drive. Like your stars did not perform for a good portion of that game. McCaffrey had a stint with the fumble. That would have been at least 3, maybe even a touchdown. I was confident that was going to be a touchdown drive. You killed momentum with that. Trent Williams kills momentum on the second drive. I don't want to hear anything about the rest.
I don't want to hear it either. I mean, Trent McDuffie got called for a holding penalty. Like, there was a defensive holding penalty on the Chiefs, but I just think it's funny. So the Chiefs got away with bear hugs. You're telling me Colton McKivitz didn't get away with a bear hug or two? Tom Feliciano didn't get away with a bear hug. I didn't call for any holding penalty. The only person that did was Trent Williams. I would love to know why. Did he say something to the refs? Like, how did that happen? How is he the one guy? The Hall of Famer. Does he talk trash? Like, is he like Draymond Green out there? Is he bringing it on himself? I don't understand that. And that wasn't his only penalty of the game, was it?
Didn't he have a false?
He had a false start in the previous play.
Yeah, exactly. He had back-to-back plays where he
back-to-back,
like,
15 yards on. Yeah, he took it from 2nd and 12 to 2nd and 27. Trent Williams.
That's why I had a feeling like Trent Williams. I feel like Trent Williams false starts don't happen that early ever. Like when they do happen, like not that early. Like I kind of feel like nerves had those guys early in that game, like 1,000%.
It's crazy if you think about it, because like these guys a lot of them are considered Hall of Famers, but none of them have really done anything in the Super Bowl yet. And that was his moment, and he didn't seize it. Neither did McCaffrey. Neither did Aiyuk. Neither did Kittle. Neither did Debo. None of them did anything memorable. And now they have to say like, well, maybe next time if I get in the Super Bowl, I'll do something that I can be proud of.
Yeah. I will say though, the way that Super Bowl ended, and I was saying this to myself too, like as it happened, I was like watching, like, okay, first down, they're at the 10 or whatever. Chris Boomer, tick. I'm like, yo, call a timeout. What are you doing? Call a timeout. And I'm like, oh no, wait, they're gonna hurry up and do a walk-off at this. I was like, this is rigged. I was saying that to myself. I was like, this is rigged. No, hell no. Rolls out, touchdown. I'm like, that's the most storybook ending I've ever seen to a Super Bowl in my freaking life. Ever. I haven't seen a storybook that much since Brady came back against the Atlanta Falcons and they scored that touchdown, that dump off to I forget the running back's name. Whatever. When they dumped it off to the running back, James White, I don't even know if that was him, and they scored a touchdown, Joe Buck goes, all right, Patriots win. Like, wait, we're not going to review that? That wasn't a clear-cut walk-in. So it's just, that felt very like, okay. I'm not going to say that, but in that moment, I was like, that was an intriguing way to end the game.
DeAndre Cummings says, how can you ignore the refs, though? If the Chiefs were called for holding, maybe they wouldn't have momentum. I'm sure there are plays where the Chiefs players got away with things that look like holding, but I'm sure there were plays where the Niners players got away with things that look like holding. And unless an analyst is going to go on and show both those plays and break them down, it just seems like homerism.
This isn't the NBA. You're not like, they don't treat Mahomes like LeBron where they give him like 18. Like, look, the only thing the refs do differently with the penalties is when the quarterback gets hit, right? But that's like 6 of them that gets hit. The Brady rules, right? Other than that, like holding, like no. Like refs, like if your top takeaway that the Niners lost was because of the refs, I'm sorry, you're taking the loss wrong then. You're taking the loss fair. You're being a sore loser. How can you look at that? The offense was really the issue.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And if you're the kind of guy that always blames the refs when you lose, then you're not actually learning anything from your defeat.
He was so salty. That's why when I saw that clip on Twitter, I was like, I gotta write about this. This is insanity.
Yeah, that was important. I just didn't see it. It almost felt like he was auditioning for Tim Ryan's job.
Yeah, Probably. He sounded
And
like
I don't even think Tim would do that. Would Tim do that? I don't think Tim would do
that was
that.
just diehard homerism right now. Like, what the hell are you?
And he even threw Taylor Swift in there. Like, wait a second, what does she have to do with it?
The moment that's what I'm saying. The moment he said that, you lost me. Like
it sounded like what he was saying is that there's a conspiracy theory in the NFL. A conspiracy theory. Like it's scripted. He was going down that road. It's like, come on, Dante, man, you played in the league. You really think because Taylor Swift is dating a player for the Chiefs that the refs are going to give Kansas City preferential treatment because of Taylor Swift?
Plus, if it was scripted, the refs alone are not going to be the ones that dictate the outcome of the game. Because at no point in that game did I look, a penalty called there kind of ruined it. Or a non-penalty, like, if anything, it was like, why didn't Purdy hit Aiyuk open in this thing? Why didn't, like, dude, that was just.
DeAndre says, I don't think that's anyone's take. The refs aren't the blame, but they did assist with making it harder to win. Okay, hold on. Let's look at penalties. Penalties. The Niners were called for 6 penalties for 40 yards, and the Chiefs were called for 6 penalties for 55 yards. So the Chiefs actually committed 15 yards more worth of penalties. So DeAndre, I respect you, man. I don't know you. Did you say you went through are you saying you went through the film and you felt that there were a bunch of penalties that the Chiefs weren't called for, but the Niners, they only committed 6? Like the ref had all 6 of the Niners?
Two of the Niners just came on that second drive for back-to-back Trent Williams. So really, you spread around the 4, the rest of the way.
I don't know. The refs did a decent job. 6 penalties on each team is about right.
It felt like a good call game.
No one wants to see 15 penalties on each team. No one wants to see 30 flags in a game. No, they let the players decide it. They didn't have penalties be outweighed one way or another. Chiefs actually committed more. I don't know. I don't think it's a good excuse. In fact, I think it's an excuse.
It is. I just think it's funny that I feel like I'm the only one that cites does anyone feel like that ending was kind of fishy? The way it was set hike, they had a timeout. Why did they call a timeout and reset? I've never seen that before.
I don't know. Hey, anyway, it's 5:00 on the West Coast on Friday. People are starting to get loose as a goose because it's weekend. And I'm excited because I got action. I got action on that on these weeks.
Baby.
UFC, baby. JL says you read it.
I like Gaethje over Holloway. I don't mind. Hey, look, if Gaethje wins, I wouldn't be shocked. I just like Holloway because of the odds. Because he's an underdog. I'll ride with that any day. If it was Gaethje of old, I might take Max, but Justin is more. That's true. Justin, the last 2 years, looks like he's hitting his peak as a fighter, but it's not like Holloway's a slouch either. That honestly, we're all treated. Everything's treated. That's going to be great to have that. And then Charles Oliveira against Arman Sarukian in back-to-back fights. That's incredible. I'm Reggie. I'm going to be lazy tomorrow, crack open a beer starting at 3:00 and watch until 10:00. No one bothers me.
That sounds like the American dream right there.
It's my dream.
Pretty close.
It's the UFC dream.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Huh?
I can't do that with football.
It's true.
Because I'm working technically.
Tomorrow, I got Brother Bob making his debut on the channel, 10:00. Tune in. Thanks, Jose.
Thank y'all.